The Waves by Virginia Woolf. Episode 1.
The sun had not yet risen. The sea was indistinguishable from the sky, except that the sea was slightly creased, as if a cloth had wrinkles in it. Gradually, as the sky whitened, a dark line lay on the horizon, dividing the sea from the sky. Gradually, the dark bar on the horizon became clear. The sky, too, cleared.
"I see a ring," said Bernard.
"I see a slab of yellow," said Susan.
"I hear a sound," said Rhoda.
"I see a globe," said Neville.
"I see a crimson tassel," said Ginny.
"I hear a great beast's foot stamping," said Louis.
"There is the White House lying amongst the trees. This is Elvedon."
The sky cleared, and an arc of fire burned on the rim of the horizon, and all around it the sea blazed gold. The surface of the sea slowly became transparent, and lay rippling and sparkling. The light streamed through the garden. The sun shaped the walls of the house. At the bedroom window, a blind stirred slightly, but within, all was dim and insubstantial.
"Sleep curls about the house like mist."
"Look at the house with all its windows white with blinds."
There are leaves beneath the windows.
The lady sits beneath the two long windows, writing. The gardeners sweep the lawn with giant brooms.
I see the lady writing. I see the gardeners sweeping.
Here is the garden. Here is the hedge. Here is Rhoda on the path, rocking petals to and fro in her basin.
"All my ships are white. I will plant a lighthouse here, here ahead of Sweet Alice. Susan has gone. Neville has gone.
"Where is Bernard? He has my knife."
Cold water runs from the scullery tap over a mackerel in a bowl.
The first stroke of the church bell. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2.
Look at the tablecloth, white along the table.
We are here. Now. In the past.
Out of the sun and into the shadow.
They've all gone into the house and I'm alone, standing by the wall, early, before lessons. I'm a boy in grey flannel trousers with a belt fastened by a snake. Bernard, Neville, Ginny and Susan, but not Rhoda, skim the flower beds with butterfly nets. They brush the surface of the world.
Louis! Louis!
Oh Lord, let me be unseen. I'm struck on the nape of the neck. She's kissed me. All is shattered.
I was running after breakfast. I ran faster and faster. Is he dead, I thought, and kissed you with my heart thumping.
I saw her kiss him. I raised my head and saw Ginny kissing Louis. I will wrap my anger inside my handkerchief. I will not sit at table doing sums. I will not sit next to Ginny, next to Louis. I will take my anguish under the hedge and die there.
Susan passed the tool house. She was not crying, but her eyes, her beautiful eyes, were red.
I saw her kiss him. I love, I hate.
I was making boats with firewood with Neville, but I heard you cry and followed you.
I desire one thing, to be like Ginny. I am a child, but I love, I hate.
Let us explore the garden.
Here are the hedges. Here is Rhoda, rocking petals in a brown basin.
All my ships are white. They float when I tip the basin up. A fleet running to the shore. Neville has gone. Susan has gone. Ginny is in the kitchen garden with Louis, perhaps. I have a silent space of freedom.
Where is Bernard? He has my knife. He left me in the lurch. He left me to follow Susan, who cried. We shall be late. We must go in together. Our books are laid out on the green baize table.
I will not conjugate the verb until I can imitate Bernard's softly lisping Latin. He is English. They are all English. Susan's father's a clergyman. Rhoda only has a mother. Bernard and Neville are sons of gentlemen. Ginny lives with her grandmother in London. My father, a banker in Brisbane. My Australian accent, which I've smothered for fear of ridicule.
Each tense means something different. There are differences in the world. This is only the beginning.
Now they suck their pens and look at Miss Hudson sideways.
Miss Hudson has shut her book. Now the terror begins. She draws numbers on the blackboard. What is the answer? Louis, Susan, Neville, Ginny, Bernard, write. I cannot write. One by one they give their answers. Now it is my turn. But I have no answer. Meaning has gone. Look, the loop of the figure is filled with time. The world is held in it. The world is entire, but I am outside of it. Oh, save me. Oh, save me.
Rhoda sits staring at the blackboard. Her shoulder blades meet across her back, like the wings of a small butterfly.
Here, Ginny and I curl up close under the canopy of the currant leaves and watch. This is our universe. All is strange, huge, and small.
We shall soon part. Bernard, Neville, Louis to school. Susan, Rhoda and I to the East Coast. There is only here. There is only now.
Miss Curry has blown her whistle, and we must form, 2 by 2, for our brisk walk.
It is dull to walk on the high road.
We must form pairs and not loiter.
Since I am supposed to be too delicate to go with them, I sink into this welcome hour of solitude in the purlieus of the house.
As we came back from our walk, I saw Florrie in the kitchen garden, with washing blown about her, and she was kissed by Ernest. They pass the plate of bread and butter, milk and soft bread. Neville finishes first, and rolls his napkin and slips it through the silver ring.
We all stand, and Miss Curry begins to play the harmonium. It is difficult not to weep, as we pray to God to keep us safe in sleep.
We troop upstairs like ponies and take our turns in the bathroom. Mrs. Constable, taking her yellow sponge and soaking it in water, holds it high above me, then squeezes it. Water runs down my spine. I am covered in warm flesh, then tie my pyjamas loosely around me and lie quiet in the bed. The day falls. I hear life far off, faint and far.
Lying under the thin sheet, I cannot sink as I spread my body on the frail mattress. Black plumes of sleep. Oh, but I sink. I fall. Down through the long black waves. Down beneath the figures on the blackboard. Down through the loop of time. With people pursuing. Always pursuing.
The sun rose higher. Blue-green waves swept a quick fan over the beach, leaving shallow pools of light on the sand. Sharp stripes of shadow lay on the garden. The sun lay broader blades upon the house. The light increased, making everything soft and amorphous. The china plate flowed. The steel of the knife was liquid, as the concussion of the waves fell with muffled thuds on the shore.
The time has come. The day has come. The cab is at the door. I must not cry. Gulping to my mother, shaking hands with my father. I must go on waving. I am alone. I am going to school for the first time. I must not cry. There is Louis. There is Neville. in long coats carrying luggage. But they look different.
Here is Bernard, composed, easy as he swings his bag. He is not afraid. The powerful green engine breathing steam. The train starts with a gentle push, and London crumbles. Bernard spreads a rug. Neville reads.
Now we have arrived. This is the moment, the solemn moment. A noble Roman air hovers over these austere quadrangles. Already the lights are lit in the library, where I shall explore the exactitude of Latin, and pronounce the sonorous hexameters of Virgil, and Lucretius, and my beloved Catullus.
Old Crane, the headmaster, hangs a crucifix on his taut, drum-like waistcoat, and when he leaves, we are alone. This is our first night at school.
This is my first night at school, away from my father, away from home. I hate the smell of pine, of linoleum, the cheerful jokes, and the glazed look of everyone. My eyes prick with tears.
Miss Lambert's ring passes to and fro across the white page of the prayer book. We are herded together in brown serge under maps of the entire world. Here I am nobody. I will not cry.
Miss Lambert wears an opaque dress that falls in a cascade from her snow-white ruffle as she sits under a picture of Queen Alexandra. Miss Lambert's one white finger presses firmly on the page. And we pray.
We march, 2 by 2, orderly into chapel. I like the dimness of the ancient building. I like the order. We sit.
The original temptation set before our first parents.
But when they danced around the Christmas tree and handed out presents, they forgot me. And a fat woman said, "This little boy has no present," and gave me a small Union Jack. I cried with fury to be remembered with pity. I'm in the dark. I'm hidden. Here with the kneeling boys and memorial brasses, there are no sudden kisses.
I was in Rome at Easter, travelling with my father. Naked boys and Christ in a glass case. I lean sideways as if to scratch my thigh, but it is so that I shall see Percival among the small fry. He flicks his hand to the back of his neck, remote and lovely. It is Percival I need. It is Percival who inspires poetry.
Old Crane talks and talks, but I am soon distracted.
Now we move out of the chapel into the yellow playing fields, it being half a holiday. Bernard goes on talking, making stories.
The padded batsmen make their strokes and run. If this moment could last, this is the moment one could fall in love forever.
Could I be they? Could I buckle on my pads and be a good batsman? Look how Percival strides from the pitch. Magnificent. I despise his slovenly accent. I, who am his superior, am jealous.
Then I feel Percival lying heavy among us. He is bored. We are bored. Bernard senses our boredom and goes to speak. "No," says Percival, for he can be brutal. And Bernard falls silent, near to tears.
We are parting. Some to tea, some to the nets. Me to show my essay to Mr. Barker.
I have won the game. I am out of breath with running and triumph, and as I lie upon the ground to watch you play, I begin to feel the wish to be singled out, to be called away by one person who comes to find me, as I sit on my gilt chair, with my dress billowing around me, sitting alone in an alcove talking together.
We are late. We must take our turn to play. Let us lie in the long grass and pretend to watch Clara and Mavis. I will bury everything. The whole school, the portraits of old men, the chapel.
I hate watching other people play games. Yet I love to see Susan and Ginny. See how, with what certainty, Ginny pulls on her stockings simply to play tennis. How resolute Susan is at the baseline.
We go to change after tennis. Ginny, I, then Rhoda lagging behind. Gongs, lessons, orders to wash, to work, to eat. We listen to the missionaries from China.
That is my face in the looking-glass behind Susan's shoulder. Other people have faces. Ginny and Susan, they are the real world. They laugh, they get angry. They know what to say when spoken to.
I hate the looking-glass on the stair, but seen full length a ripple runs down my entire body. I move, I dance, I catch fire. I bind my hair with a white ribbon perfectly. Not a hair shall be untidy.
At home the hay waves over the meadows. In the house a door bangs as the summer air puffs along a passage.
Susan and Ginny have friends. They say things in private corners. I imagine nameless, immaculate creatures having late holidays in Scarborough, and that town runs gold. I hate the looking-glass. I must push my foot to the edge of the world and hang suspended. Miss Lambert is taking the clergyman into her private garden through the willow gate.
She lets her silk cloak drop, slip down.
Miss Lambert, who loves Ginny. Miss Lambert, whom I could have loved, but now love no one.
At home, Father smokes.
Where is home?
It is late. We must go down to tea.
The boasting boys have gone now to play cricket, singing.
Percival has gone now. He never waved his hand as the brake turned the corner by the laurel bush.
Archie and Hugh, Parker and Dalton, LePent and Smith.
He despises me for being too weak to play, yet he is always kind to my weakness.
The names are always the same. They play cricket, march in majestic order, in beautiful obedience, as they all go forward to inherit the earth.
He despises me for not caring if they win or lose, except that he cares. He always takes my devotion.
I watch them with envy and contempt. They win matches, triumph in boat races, but make little boys sob in the dark.
Yet he cannot read Shakespeare or Catullus, Pope or Dryden, so I couldn't live with his stupidity. He will coarsen and marry and lose all dignity. But he's young now. Not a shred is between him and the rain, between him and the sun, as he lies naked and hot on his bed.
I am the best scholar in the school. I will knock. I will enter.
They have bowled off. I'm too late to go with them. My fingers slip idly over the keyboard without knowing. I shall tell you a story about Dr. Crane.
Bernard's stories, idly told to pass time. Which is why I cannot tell him of my violent passion for Percival. I wish only for firelight, privacy, and limbs of one person.
Dr. Crane in his private rooms. He unfastens his braces. Let us be trivial. Let us be intimate. Mrs. Crane lies in bed with her hair down, reading a French memoir. She sighs and thinks, is this all? Dr. Crane sighs and thinks, I could have been an admiral, a judge. What was it for? Why so? For him, for us.
There are only 8 days left. In 8 days' time I shall get out of the train and stand on the platform at 6:25. Then my freedom will unfurl.
Another day. Another day. I feel my body harden. I feel its slopes, its thinness. Now the time is coming when we shall leave school and wear long skirts and dresses without sleeves at night.
There are hours and hours before I can put out the light and lie suspended on my bed above the world. I wake, I wash, I go into the garden to pick flowers. Oh, for whom?
Then all the hours of order and discipline will shrivel as I open the carriage door and see my father, and I shall burst into tears.
There will be parties in brilliant rooms, and one man will single me out and tell me what he's told no other person.
There is some check, some flaw in my being, a deep obstacle, some knot at the centre. Oh, this pain! Oh, this anguish!
I shall wake early. I shall let myself out by the kitchen door. Then I shall come back through the trembling lanes. I shall go upstairs to my room and turn over all my treasures, and I shall know I am home.
But I shall not let myself be attached to one person only. I will not be fixed. I shall have 50, 60 years to spend. I have not yet broken into my hoard. This is the beginning.
Now my body thaws. To whom shall I give my warm, my porous body, my flowers? Oh, to whom? I will give. I will enrich. I will bind my garland, and with outstretched hands present it. Oh, but to whom?
This is the last day of the last term. Soon we will leave.
This is the final ceremony. This is the last of all ceremonies.
Dalton, Tennyson.
Neville, Bernard and I shall not meet here again, but we have forged ties. We have forged links.
On these walls are inscribed the names of men who were statesmen, who made war or poetry. A roll call of the mighty dead.
We are about to part. Here are the boxes. Here are the cabs. There is Percival. He will forget me. Leave my letters lying among guns. I shall send him poems, but he will reply only with a postcard.
The guard, holding a flag, blows his whistle, and the train breathes and starts, and oddly we feel a strange melancholy.
Our boyhood years are over, but I still hear the sullen thud of the waves like a chained beast stamping.
Percival will forget me. I shall propose a meeting under a clock somewhere. Wait, and he will not come. But it is for that I love him.
So we take our seats in the carriage.
So we settle down into our reserved compartment.
So I take my seat in the corner and shade my eyes with my book. Percival will pass from my life, and I shall pass, incredible as it seems, into other lives, but always looking for the one person, that one privacy, and words whispered alone and in private to the one person who will not listen.
It is the first day of the summer holidays, but the last day of the last term. Cover them, bury them deep, the school years I have hated.
I sit snug in my own corner, going north. As the express flattens hedges, lengthens hills, we roar into a tunnel, and the old man opposite lowers his newspaper and sees my reflection in the glass, and my body tightens under his gaze.
The train passes red rocks, the blue sea, and all the terms are done. The white of June, humiliations in a garden in midsummer, all are gone.
I will not send my children away to school. I will never spend a night in London. Ginny lives here.
We are out of the tunnel, and he reads his newspaper. He has made me aware of our bodies, of my body, mine, in a room where the gilt chairs are.
Here is the ticket collector. Here are two women. There is a basket. Myself reflected in the window glass, my elbow bent.
But we pass out of London to the fields beyond. I smell turnip fields. At stations, milking cans. Women kiss each other and help with baskets.
The train climbs heavy to the moor, where only sheep live. Yet we are provided with every comfort. Now we are on the moor, and silence closes behind us. Silence closes over all, even us.
We race. We roar along. As I lie back, we enter another tunnel, and I give myself up to rapture. I will enter a lamplit room with gilt chairs, and I will sink down with my dress billowing about me. I am admired. I will give myself up to rapture and triumph. I now break into my hoard of life. Life is just beginning.
I lean out of the window. The air rushes down my throat, air that has the smell of turnips in it. And there is my father. His back is turned. He is talking to someone. He wears gaiters. There is my father.
We are nowhere. We are passing through England in a train. Barnard and Neville will go to Oxford or Cambridge. I go vaguely to make money, vaguely. This is the first day of my new life.
Louis and Neville sit silent, both absorbed. I have little aptitude for reflection. I feel the presence of other people, and I begin to make stories, make words like smoke rings. Now we approach a junction. I have to change. I have to board a train for Edinburgh. Here is the ticket collector. I cannot find my ticket. I had one. I look in all my pockets, my notebook. I shall find it, or I shall not find it.
Bernard has gone. There he is, waving his arms on the platform. He's missed his connection. The train has gone without him. He'll talk to a barmaid and smile. And I pretend to read again. I see my life spread out before me. All the humdrum years as a don, with other dons going to Greece to look at the Parthenon and talk of Sophocles and the birth of art. Percival will be in Scotland now. Our train slows and lengthens into London, and my heart draws out too in fear, in exultation. Whom am I about to meet? Who is waiting? We stop with a soft shock. I will sit one moment longer to anticipate to the full what is to come. Under the station roof, it's like the surge of the sea, an uproar. But oh, whom shall I find? Who is waiting? I step down onto the platform, grasping tightly all that I possess. One bag.
The sun rose. Bars of yellow and green fell to the shore. Light almost pierced the thin, swift waves as they raced fan-shaped over the beach. Now the rising sun came in at the window and touched the red-edged curtain. The growing light settled on the whiteness of the plate. The blade of the knife condensed its gleam, and the looking-glass was a pool upon the wall. The wind rose. The waves drummed on the shore.
It is still early morning. The mist is on the marshes. The day is stark and stiff as a linen shroud, but it will soften, it will warm. At this hour, at this still early hour, I go quietly down through the house and into the fields. A faint red in the sky fades. Silence and the bell, all are mine. The flat ground, the pale sky, the clouds pace slowly, and wood smoke rises. Now the day stirs. The earth hangs beneath me. But who am I? I am not yet 20, but I shall have children. For soon, one hot midday, my love will come. He will stand under the cedar tree. To his one word I shall answer my one word, and what forms inside me I shall give to him. I shall become like my mother, silent in a blue apron. Like her, I shall take the bags of sugar, sultanas, flour from the cupboard. I shall let the cold water stream, fan-shaped, through my fingers as I knead the dough, but remain silent. The evening comes, and lamps are lit. I will sit with my sewing by the fire, and hear the wind whispering through the dark garden, and think of Ginny and Rhoda, and how they dance in London.
The door is opening and shutting. People are arriving, but they don't speak. I am prepared. I am arrayed. This is the prelude, the beginning. All is exact. My hair is swept in a single curve. My lips a precise red. These are my peers. This is my calling. I am native here. I begin to unfurl under this scent, under this radiance. The gilt chairs, the expectant rooms, the lustrous women and the black and white men. We are all very young. I feel 1,000 capacities spring up in me. Come, I say to that one. No, to that. Then he approaches from his station by the glass cabinet. This is the most exciting moment I shall ever know. Come, I say. Come, and I ripple. I flow as the pale man with the dark hair crosses to my side. I fall and am carried off. We go in and out of this hesitating music. It is sinuous. It holds us together, his body hard, mine flowing. I do not care for anybody except this man, whom I do not know. Are we not lovely together? Me in silk, him in black and white? This is rapture. I try to reach him. The door opens, and I say, come, to this one. And he comes to me.
The door opens, and the tiger leaps. I know no one here. I shall move the curtain and look at the moon. The door opens. Terror rushes in. The door opens, and people come towards me, throwing faint smiles and cruelty. He speaks. I must take his hand. I must answer. But what shall I say? The tiger leaps. Ginny rides like a gull on the wave, saying this, saying that adroitly. But here, twisting the tassels of the brocaded curtain in my hostess's window, I am no longer whole, as Susan is, stooping quietly beneath the lamplight, threading her needle. I will walk across the room as if I had an end in view. Outside the world passes, a world immune from change. Each time the door opens, the terror returns. I am not yet 21. But the door opens, the tiger leaps, and I am simply a girl in a room by a window.
People go on passing the window of this eating shop. On the glass trays, buns and ham sandwiches. They pass the window incessantly, yet obscured by the steam from the tea urn. I prop my book against a bottle of Worcester sauce and try to read. I'm an average clerk. I try to look like the rest, but I cannot. Two men discuss the sale of the piano. It blocks the hall. He'll take a tenner. People go on passing the window and the ham sandwiches. I cannot concentrate. I'll take a tenner. It blocks the hall. The mean, the average. Yet I feel the rhythm of the eating house, the waitresses balancing trays, eddying in and out, round and round, dealing the right plate to the right customer. And yet the circle is broken, a central rhythm, a common mainspring. I watch it contract, expand, then contract again. Yet I'm not included. If I speak, they ask me about my accent. so now I speak with perfect English. I desire, above all, to be loved, to be taken in someone's arms and feel the protective wave wash over me. My father, a banker in Brisbane. Order. I must have order. I try to read my book, my Plato, my Virgil, but the steam running down the window panes and people passing to and fro. Yet I have seen women carrying their pitchers to the Nile, and felt with a blow Ginny's kiss on the nape of my neck in the garden, sleeping and waking. The greasy tea urn, the yellow sandwiches. Brushing the crumbs from my waistcoat, I get up and slip too large a tip under the plate, so that the waitress will not see until I'm gone. She smiles like a sister as I pass through the swing doors, as Bernard and Neville saunter under the yew trees.
Let it exist. This bank, this beauty, and for one instant, let me be steeped in pleasure. In the autumn sunlight, boats float past. Far away, a bell tolls. But not for death. There are bells that toll for life. And oh, how I am in love with life. Another boat passes filled with indolent, powerful young men. They are eating fruit and listening to the gramophone. All they do is beautiful. Another comes, then another. That is Percival lounging on the cushions. Boats and youths passing and distant trees. I feel it all. The joyous buildings, the ancient quadrangle where the lights are beginning to make yellow slits, the scent of limes. In your room we talk privately. The fire leaps. You've been reading Byron. But I am too nervous. And while you talk, I am trying to expose a secret told to nobody yet. I'm standing with my back to you, about to take my life in my hands, and for you to tell me why I am doomed to arouse repulsion in the people I love, doomed to always look ridiculous in Piccadilly. You're not listening. You slide your hand along your knee. By such signals we see our friends' indifference. But stop and ask me how I feel. I stand with my back to you. I insert a copy of Don Juan back into your bookcase. I give you my poem. Then go.
He shot from the room like an arrow. I stand by the window holding his poem. But I want to linger, to lean from the window, to listen to all the college night sounds. As we walked back across the quadrangle, I could hear our footsteps on the flags under the moon. They're smashing china now. Now they're singing. I lean out of the window and drop my cigarette so that it twirls lightly to the ground. The truth is, I need the stimulus of other people. Alone over my dead fire, I just rattle the cinders with the poker and think, Mrs. Moffat will come and sweep it all up. Oh yes, Mrs. Moffat will come. And so, to bed.
The sun rises. It looks straight over the waves, which fell with a regular thud. The sun fell on cornfields and woods. All was consumed by the light, and the country white with blossom, and the sea which beat like a drum. The sun fell sharp inside the room. Everything was without shadow, more finely grained. A plate was like a white lake, a knife like a dagger, a jar so green it dazzled the eye. As the light increased, flocks of shadows followed, and hung in the many-pleated room.
London lies under the mist. All cries, all clamour are softly enveloped in silence. The early train from the north. As we rattle through stations, we roar on. London hums and murmurs as I stand looking through the train window, feeling my great happiness, being engaged to be married. I do not want the train to stop. I do not want to arrive at Euston. I do not want the connection which has bound us together all night long to be broken. But then it is over. We draw up at the platform.
It's now 5 minutes to 8. I've come early to taste every moment of anticipation, to see the door open and say, "Is it Percival?" No, it is not. I've seen the door open and shut 20 times already. Each time, it sharpens the suspense.
But I do not wish to go through the gate with the throng at Euston, to assume the burden of an individual life. I, who am now engaged to be married, am charged in every nerve with a sense of... how can I call it? I have arrived, am accepted. This is perhaps happiness.
This is the place to which he is coming. This is the table at which he will sit. Here, incredible as it seems, will be his actual body. If he should not come, I could not bear it. Yet somebody must be seeing him now. He must be in a cab, passing some shop.
Thank heaven we shall meet tonight. Neville, Louis, Susan, Ginny, Rhoda. I need an audience. With them I shall be retrieved from darkness. With them I need not feel alone. But I must remember I am engaged to be married. I will have daughters, sons. But tonight I dine with friends.
The door opens, but he does not come. That is Louis hesitating, touching his hair, looking in the glass, his mixture of assurance and timidity. He sees me. He is here.
Rhoda comes from nowhere, having slipped in while we were not looking.
The swing door goes on opening. Strangers keep on coming. People we will never see again. We cannot sink down. We cannot forget.
There's Susan. She does not see us. She stands for a moment at the swing door, then she moves towards us with the assured stealth of a wild beast.
The door opens, the door goes on opening, yet he does not come.
Neville and his misery. Every time the door opens, he does not raise his eyes.
There is Ginny. She stands at the door, and everything is stayed. She is the centre of everything, like the rays of a star. Now she sees us. Now she moves. All the rays ripple and flow, and we change. Louis puts his hand to his tie. Neville straightens the forks in front of him. Rhoda is surprised, and I, in my shabby dress and my square fingernails, which I hide under the tablecloth.
When I came in, the pattern stood still. I dazzle, and I make you believe that this is all.
He has not come. The door opens and it is Bernard. Now we are all together. And the door opens.
Here is Percival smoothing his hair.
Now my heart rises.
Here is Percival. He is not dressed for dinner.
Yet he is about to leave us to go to India. He takes his seat by Susan, whom he loves, and the occasion is crowned. At Elvedon the gardeners swept, and the woman sat at a table writing.
Miss Lambert, Miss Cutting, Miss Bard, monumental ladies who moved amethyst rings over the pages of French, geography and arithmetic.
Bells rang punctually. There was a drawing of chairs across the linoleum.
Veils fell, and the tiger leapt.
But here and now we are together.
I sat in my office and noted that it was Friday the 10th in the city of London.
We were drawn here for, what shall we say, love of Percival, who is going to India.
His light falls on real objects now, knives and forks. We can talk. We can talk.
I smoothed my hair when I came in, to be like you. I admire Percival and Susan, but hate the others. Smooth my hair, conceal my accent, lest you should laugh at me.
But you will never hate me. You will never see me in a room full of gilt chairs without wanting my sympathy. My body goes before me, like a lantern in the dark.
You stood in the door demanding admiration. But none of you saw me. I came early. I came quickly and directly to sit by the person I love.
The door opens and the tiger leaps. I am afraid of you all.
When I came into the room, I stopped. Everything disgusted me. I shall be lifted higher than you, on the backs of the seasons, on the backs of my children, and hate those who see their faults. No day will be without movement. I shall possess more than Ginny, more than Rhoda, by the time I die.
I shall have fame. I shall have riches. But I shall never have what I really want. I want only one special one. The person is always changing, though not the desire. I don't know in the morning whom I shall sit with at night. In this pursuit, I shall grow old.
Had I been born not knowing, I shall leave only a cupboard of old clothes when I die. I shall never succeed even in talk in weaving the perfect phrase, but I shall have contributed more to the passing moment than any of you. And then I shall be forgotten.
Listen. Listen.
Yes?
The roar of London is all around us. The siren hoots and the ship makes for the open sea.
Percival is going. We called him here, but India lies beyond.
I see India and the long, low shore. Percival wears a sun helmet.
India rises. Percival riding alone down a solitary path. His camp pitched among the desolate trees.
It is hate. It is love.
It is love. It is hate, such as Susan feels for me because I once kissed Louis in the garden.
One waits and he does not come. It gets later and later. He's forgotten. He's with someone else. The door opens. He is here.
I say come, and he comes. He crosses the room to where I sit with my dress like a veil billowing about me on the gilt chair.
They throw violets.
And death is woven in with the violets.
Death. And again, death.
How proudly we sit here, we who are not yet 25. Our flesh is firm and cool. Beauty is ours. Days and days are still to come. We've scarcely broken into our hoard. I say to him, come. And the room is golden.
With infinite time before us. What shall we do?
Yesterday I became engaged.
Something irrevocable has happened.
The circle breaks.
The circle is destroyed.
I am engaged to be married. That is the truth. That is the fact. But beyond it all is darkness.
Now once more, having paid our bill, we are about to part. Do not move. Do not go. Hold it forever.
Let us hold it for one moment. Love. Hatred.
Happiness is in it. And the quiet of ordinary things.
The seasons are in it, whether April or November.
Weekdays are in it. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Look, Percival, while they fetch a taxi.
Look, the dark sky is like polished whalebone.
Now the cab comes. Now Percival goes. What can we do to keep him? We who stay in the street and loved him. Now Percival is gone.
The sun had risen to its full height. Now the sun burned. Steamers throbbing slowly over the sea were caught in the level stare of the sun, and it beat through yellow awnings upon passengers who dozed or paced the deck, while day after day the ship bore them monotonously over the waters, while the sun beat on.
He is dead. He fell. His horse tripped. He was thrown. All is over. The lights of the world have gone out.
My son is born. Percival is dead. As I descend the stair, I do not know which is sorrow, which is joy.
Oh, to crumble this telegram in my fingers, to let the light of the world flood back, to say this has not happened. But this is the truth. His horse stumbled, he was thrown, he died where he fell. This is the fact.
This, then, is the world that Percival sees no longer. He lies pale and bandaged in some room.
They carried him to some pavilion. Men in riding boots, men in sun helmets. Among unknown men he died.
He lies on a camp bed, bandaged in some hot Indian hospital, while coolies squatted on the floor. Is this the utmost that can be done? For he was only 25, and should have lived to 80.
I stand here, holding the telegram. I have his other 3 letters. I'm about to pay quoits with a colonel, so no more. Thus he ends our friendship. Yet if someone had but said, wait, had pulled the strap 3 holes tighter, he would have done justice to 50 years and come back to me. I will not lift my foot to climb the stair. Women shuffle past with shopping baskets. People keep on passing. Yet they shall not destroy this moment. For this moment, this one moment, we are together. I press you to me.
His figure that was robed in beauty is now clothed in ruin. I will pick and bind violets for Percival. Look at the street, now that Percival is dead. I am alone in a hostile world. Percival, by his death, has made me this present, has revealed this terror.
And then they bury him. I do not feel. Why hurry? Why catch trains? Yet others suffer. Neville suffers. He loved Percival. Did I tell you how I refused to go to Hampton Court that day? That thought leaps with anguish, and I should do penance that I did not go with him to Hampton Court that day.
Here is where they sell stockings. Pain is suspended as a girl silently slides open a drawer. Through laces, among baskets of coloured ribbons, its whisper comes down the aisles. I will pay my bill and take my parcel. This is Oxford Street. Consider the friends with whom he sat and ate. Louis, reading the sporting column of an evening newspaper, a snob afraid of ridicule. He will smooth out the death of Percival to his satisfaction. Bernard will bring out his notebook, and under D will enter phrases to be used on the death of friends. Ginny will perch on the arm of a chair and say, did he love me more than he loved Susan? And Susan will kick her heel and slam the oven door. Neville now stares at the window through tears. Will see through his tears someone pass the window and say, what a lovely boy. Withered violets, blackened violets. This is my tribute to Percival. I will go to Greenwich. Into the wave that dashes upon the shore, into the wave that flings its white foam to all corners of the earth, I throw my violets, my offering to Percival.
The waves broke and spread their waters to the shore. They massed themselves and fell. They fell, withdrew, and fell again, like the thud of a great beast stamping.
In The Waves, the narrator was played by Janet Sussman, Bernard by John Cartwright, and Susan by Geraldine James. Rhoda was played by Anna Massey and Neville by Peter Guinness. Ginny was played by Jane Laportaire and Louis by Don Warrington. The Waves was written by Virginia Woolf and dramatised and directed by Terence Davis. The producer was Polly Thomas. The Waves by Virginia Woolf. Episode 2.
The sun no longer stood in the middle of the sky. Its light slanted, falling obliquely. Here it caught the edge of a cloud. Then another cloud caught the light, and another, and another. A blind hung red at the window's edge, and within the room light fell upon the lacquered chairs in the heaped-up darkness. The waves massed themselves, curved their backs, and crashed, then massed again.
I've signed my name 20 times already. I, and I again. Clear, firm, unequivocal. The sun shines clear in the sky. 12 o'clock, the time when Miss Johnson brings me my letters in a wire tray. I'm half in love with the typewriter and the telephone, with letters and cables and brief courteous demands from Paris, Berlin, New York. On the telephone with its lip to my ear and my whispered replies. I love to come into my room punctually at 10. I love the glow of dark mahogany and the date on the wall and the engagement book. Mr. Prentice at 4, Mr. Ayres sharp at 4:30. I like to be asked into Mr. Burchard's private room and report on our commitments in China. By our exertions, we send ships to remote parts of the globe, replete with lavatories and gymnasiums. I hope to inherit an armchair and a Turkish carpet. My shoulder is to the wheel. I roll the dark before me. The weight of the world is on our shoulders. I must press on. This is life. Mr. Prentice at 4, Mr. Ayres at 4:30. If I press on, I will inherit a rug and an armchair and a place in Surrey. This is life. But respite here, in the eternal procession. Women with attaché cases going down to the Strand as they once went with pitchers to the Nile. This is life. But I like to hear the soft rush of the lift. Mr. Prentice at 4, Mr. Ayres at 4:30. The weight of the world is on our shoulders. This is life, if I press on. I do this, I do that, and ask Miss Johnson as I pass through the office about the movies, and take my cup of tea and choose my favorite biscuit. And when 6 o'clock comes, I tip my hat to the commissionaire and lean against the wind. Mr. Prentice at 4, Mr. Ayres at 4:30. Yet I still keep my attic room, and Rhoda comes, for we are lovers. I will expunge all stains, erase old defilements, my accent, my father, a banker in Brisbane. Percival has died in India. All deaths are one death. I press on. Mr. Prentice at 4, Mr. Ayres at 4:30.
Sleep, sleep, I croon. A dog barks, a bell tinkles, rooks call. I sit by the fire watching the kettle boil, see the pear tree through the steam-streaked window pane. Sleep, sleep, I say, to ward off any shock of destruction near this wicker cradle, laden with soft limbs, cocooned under a pink coverlet. Sleep, I say, but I am all spun to a fine thread round the cradle, wrapping in a cocoon of my own blood the delicate limbs of my own baby. Sleep, I say, and feel within me a darker violence, so that I would fell any intruder who should break into this room and wake the sleeper. I pad about the house all day long, in apron and slippers, like my mother, who died of cancer. I no longer know if it is winter or summer, May or November. I stoop, I feed my baby. Sleep, I say, sleep, as the kettle boils and its breath comes thicker. So life fills my veins, till I could cry, so glutted with happiness am I, with natural happiness. Yet more children will come, more cradles, more baskets hanging in the kitchen, and hams ripening. As we sit here reading, as I thread my needle, the lamp kindles the fire in the dark pane, but no sound breaks the silence of our house, where the fields sigh close to the door. I push my thread through the needle and murmur, sleep. I hear the brush of wind down the lane, traffic, then broken voices and laughter. The door opens to Ginny, who cries,
"Now is the moment, and we have come together. Now let us talk. Let us sit here under the cut flowers on the sofa by the picture. Let us tell stories." Who is she? Who is he? He loved a girl once in Rome. She left him, and he's now surrounded, you say, by ceramics. Break one and you shatter 1,000 pounds. His life stagnated in a sea of china. This man, who was once young, and sat on damp ground and drank rum with soldiers. People are soon gone. The woman there by the cabinet. I have lived my life, I must tell you, perilously. I am attached to no one, and am now past 30. That woman, you whisper, was once the pure flame in the life of a statesman, but since his death has adopted a coffee-coloured youth who converted her on a train between Edinburgh and Carlisle by reading her the Bible, and now she calls him Messiah. I raise my arm, and some figure breaks off and joins me. That man is a judge. That man, a millionaire. But why? The door goes on opening. The room fills with knowledge, anguish, many kinds of ambition, some indifference, some despair, and tomorrow it begins again. Friday, Saturday, and I, who am always sending signals, the rough black no, and the golden come. Someone moves. Did I raise my arm? Did I look? Did my yellow scarf float a signal? He follows. All is rapt. All is nocturnal. All my senses stand erect. We are out of doors. Now the cool tide of darkness breaks over me. Night opens. Night holding lovers roaming to adventure. I smell violets. I hear the nightingale. All London is uneasy. Now my golden signal. I am pierced. It has driven deep within me, has washed me, sheathed me, embalmed me.
Time passes, and we grow old. But I sit with you, alone with you in London, in this firelit room. You there, I here, is all. Look at the firelight, running up and down the curtain, running over your face. When you come, everything changes. Everything puts on splendor under the eyes of love. The whole day was before us, fine and tender. We walked through the park to the Embankment, along the Strand to St. Paul's. Then I bought an umbrella. But can this last? Forever and ever, I swore. Then the usual doubt. You left me, descending into the tube. By 5 I knew you were faithless. I snatched the telephone, heard its voice, buzz, 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 in your empty room. But my door opened, and you were there. But we did not speak, and I marvelled at the careless movements of your body, marvelled at its ease, its power. I cannot tumble like the naked boys on the decks of a ship, or ride in India in a sun helmet like Percival. I want this fire. I want this chair. I want someone to sit beside me after the day's anguish. I need privacy, to be alone with you. I want order. One must slip paper knives even exactly through the pages of novels and tie up packets of letters neatly with green silk and brush up the cinders with a hearth broom. And the poem and the naked cabin boys, Ajax and Percival. But you are not them. You are you. But one day you will not come after breakfast, and one day I will see you in some looking-glass, looking at another. And the telephone will buzz, buzz, buzz in your empty room, and I shall find another, and another. Until then, come closer.
The sun has now sunk lower in the sky. The waves no longer reached the pools or the beach. The sand was pearl white and shining. The afternoon sun warmed the fields, which now seemed lacquered and in deep varnish. The red blind and the white curtains blowing in and out at the edge of the window, and the light which entered the room, browned a cabinet, reddened a chair, deepened the green jar. All for a moment. All for a moment.
And time tapers to a point and lets fall its drop. I stand here shaving. I go on shaving. I hold the razor in my hand. Last week I stood here shaving. The drop fell. Over and done with, I said. But what is lost? What is over? I have lost my youth.
In this hot afternoon, here in this garden where I walk with my children, I have reached the summit of my desires. The violent passions of childhood are gone. My tears in the garden when Ginny kissed Louis, my rage in the schoolroom which smelt of pine, gone. I have had peaceful, productive years. I have seen my sons and daughters grow like fruit and walk with me, taller than me, casting shadows on the grass.
Here I stand in a tube station where everything that is desirable meets. Piccadilly South Side, Piccadilly North Side, Regent Street and the Haymarket. I stand in the heart of London. The great avenues of civilization meet here. I am in the heart of life. But look, that is my body in the looking-glass. Shrunk. Aged. I am no longer young. Millions descend. Millions have died. Percival died. I still move. I still live. But who will come if I signal?
I no longer need a room, or walls, or firelight, now that I am no longer young. We have lost our glory. When we were young, that old corrosion, regret, and envy too. We tumbled about like naked boys on the deck of the ship. But I sit and read Shakespeare on a pale Sunday afternoon on Shaftesbury Avenue. Young, dapper men talk and finger their ties, and before they open their mouths, I know what they're going to say.
I come back from my office. I hang my coat there, place my stick there. I've been sitting with the director at a varnished table. The maps of our successful undertakings fill a wall. We have laced the world together with our ships, and I'm immensely respectable. I shall acquire a house in Surrey, 2 cars, a conservatory, and a rare species of melon. But I still return. I still come back to my attic to hang my hat and attempt to find my curious solitude.
Oh, life, how I have dreaded you. On the tube in Oxford Street, how hideous you looked. How you chained me to one spot, 1 hour, and snatched from me the white spaces that lie between hour and hour. Yet it was my life. I looked at life through this, through that. So terrible was it that I covered Oxford Street, Piccadilly Circus, with vine leaves, with rose leaves. There were boxes, too, standing in the passage when school broke up. I read the labels and dreamt of names and faces. Harrogate, perhaps, or Edinburgh, were ruffled with glory. I have longed to feel the bed soften and float, suspended.
Time tapers. I have outlived desires. I have lost friends. Some by death, Percival. Others by indifference. I let myself in with my latchkey, go through the familiar ritual. My wife, my house, my children. Now the lovely veil has fallen. The drop falls. Stage to stage. The drop falls. Another stage has been reached. The drop falls. I pass an office. I go in. I purchase a ticket for Rome.
Where can the shadow enter, as I stand here with my scissors among the flowers? What shock can loosen my pressed-down life? I am sick of natural happiness, the scattering of toys through the house, oars, guns, skulls, books won for prizes. I am sick of my body, sick of measuring, year by year, children against the shutters on the drawing-room window.
Breathing in and out with fear. But I will not be afraid. It was only for a moment, catching sight of myself before I had time to prepare myself for the sight of myself. I am not young. I shall raise my arm in vain, and my scarf will fall to my side unanswered. I shall not hear the sigh of the night, or feel someone coming through the dark. I shall only hear the dreadful descent of the army of the dead.
But now in this room which I enter without knocking, things are said as if they had been written. But I listen. I am marvellously on the alert. Sobs on the staircase. People come in. People go out. Here, in November, as the years slip by.
Sitting at my mahogany desk in my spats. Rhoda has left me, but the little vulgar Cockney actress, who can never speak English properly, drops her dirty linen on the floor and puts me at my ease.
I stood lurching in the omnibus to Greenwich after Percival died. I threw my violets into the spreading waves. Who then comes with me? Flowers only. The cowbind, the violets which I made into a garland. Oh, for whom? We settle on, then sink beneath the waves. The white petals float for a moment, then they sink too. The sea drums, and the violets sink.
I am shedding life's skins, and all they will say is, Bernard is spending 10 days in Rome. The world is beginning to move past me, like a train, like the waves of the sea, and as I move I direct my steps towards a man the back of whose head is familiar. We were together at school. But wait 1 moment. We will talk. We will dine together. So, Bernard, he will say. The drop falls. His name is Lapent.
I hold scissors and snip off hollyhocks. Now I measure. Now I preserve. At night I sit in the armchair with my sewing and hear my husband snore, and look up when the light from a passing car dazzles the window, and feel the waves of my life tossed, broken. Life stands around me like glass round an imprisoned reed. I sometimes think of Percival, who loved me, while I push my needle in and out and draw my thread through the calico.
I will not be afraid to look in the glass. I think of the superb omnibuses, red and yellow, and the powerful beauty of cars. These broad thoroughfares, Piccadilly South, Piccadilly North, Regent Street and the Haymarket, are sanded paths of victory. And I, with my patent leather shoes, my handkerchief, mere gauze, march to victory with the band. There are gauzes and silks in crimson and green and violet in glass cases. Lifts rise and fall, trains start and stop like waves of the sea. This is my ecstasy. I will go home, fill my house with luxurious flowers. I will make ready for somebody new to come, somebody unknown, somebody I passed on the staircase and murmured, "Come." And he will come this afternoon. This somebody I do not know. He will come. And I will let the silent army of the dead descend as I march forward.
I'm alone now. I could be content to watch the fire forever and listen to the sounds of the London night. Then I hear the sound I've waited for. Up it comes. Approaches, hesitates, stops at my door, then taps. Come in. Sit by me, on the edge of the chair. Come closer. Come closer.
Let us suppose I make reason of it all. Rhoda, my mistress with a Cockney accent. My father, a banker in Brisbane. Let us suppose I should never die. What has my destiny been? Why all my years of attempts? Let us suppose I make sense of it all. Let us suppose.
We stumble up. We stumble on. We launch out over the precipice. We float. Then sink.
The sun was sinking, but the waves, as they neared the shore, fell in one long concussion. The evening sun, whose heat had gone, diffused the room and window, made chairs and tables a mellow brown and yellow. The wild plover cried in the marshes. Slow shadows lengthened, and the late owl swooped towards the sun.
I walk straight up to you without circling. Coming up from the station, I perceive your coats and umbrellas. Even at a distance, how you stand. Repeated moments running together.
Your laughter breaks the thread, just as Ginny broke the thread when she kissed me in the garden all those years ago.
I see what is before me. I like what one touches, what one tastes. I do not temper my beauty, but gulp it down whole. I am never alone.
This is the necessary prelude to saluting old friends.
Hampton Court. This is our meeting place. Hampton Court. There they are already standing. Susan, Louis, Rhoda, Ginny and Neville. Suddenly, raising my hand, I salute Neville.
Being now middle-aged, what have we made of life? What do we feel on meeting? sorrow. The door will not open. He will not come.
Yet look, Neville. My hand is on the long table. My palm, my body.
Men, how many have broken away from the wall and come to me?
Lying deep in a chair with one person only, but one person for whom one is entire. This, and only this, remains.
Now sitting side by side at this narrow table, all emotion is worn smooth, and yet we scarcely breathe.
Across the dining room table with tumblers and salt cellars, and a yellow stain on the tablecloth.
When we join together, another arrangement will form, another pattern. Rhoda pretends she does not see me.
They all have an attitude. Children, authority, fame, love, society. I have nothing.
There was the beechwood and Elvedon, the changing travelling lights, the pigeons, the leaves, the clock.
We break these bread rolls and help ourselves to fish and salad.
This evening moment with its wine and leaves and news coming up from the river in white flannels carrying cushions.
The trees, the park which we overlook, where furtive couples loiter until it is dark enough to shelter their bodies. Making love behind that tree, the soldier is more admirable than any of us.
But I beg you, notice my waistcoat and my cane. I have inherited a mahogany desk in a room hung with maps. Our steamers have cabins replete with luxury. We supply gymnasiums and swimming baths, and I consult a little book before making engagements.
I have only to hold up my hand. His shirt front there in the corner is white. Then smoke and flame. Yet we scarcely raised our voices, sitting on the hearthrug, as we murmured all the secrets of our hearts so that nobody in the sleeping house would hear.
It is uncomfortable. Only gradually, as we shuffled into the inn, after taking off hats and coats, did it become agreeable. Assembled now at the long table, in the long dining room, lit by the setting sun.
Before, when we met in a restaurant in London with Percival, all shimmered and shook. We could have been anything. There was glory once, when we watched for the door to open, and Percival came. I talked to impress Susan. Listen to me, Susan.
We must do penance at Hampton Court at 7:30 precisely. And Neville, whom I will discredit by not speaking, then lay my hand upon the table.
It was different once. How swift life runs from January to December.
We fall. We fall off the edge of the world. At night, my bed floats, suspended.
But listen to the world as it moves through infinite space. All life is gone.
And we no more live.
As we talk, time holds still.
As I look at my face in the glass at midday, I am gaunt and grey. But I am not afraid. A miracle has happened. Life is stayed to here and now.
How short a time silence lasts. Already they are beginning to smooth their napkins.
They are saying to themselves, is it time? Is it time? The garden will shut and close. They will walk towards the gates, and Rhoda and I will drop a little behind.
They vanish towards the lake. Not a sound, not a movement.
We advance down this avenue, I leaning slightly on Ginny, Bernard arm in arm with Neville, and Susan with her hand in mine.
I grasp, I hold fast, I hold firmly to this hand, anyone's, with love, hatred, it doesn't matter which.
Drop upon drop, silence falls. It forms on the roof of my mind. Replete with middle age content, I let the silence fall, drop by drop.
Now they vanish. Susan and Bernard. Susan, who has always loved Bernard. You and I and Rhoda and Ginny stop for a moment by the stone urn.
My ruined life. My ruined life. And Neville takes Ginny's hand by the lake as she cries,
Love. Love.
I shall never take the ship to the South Sea Islands. Rome was my limit. I have sons and daughters and must catch the train from Waterloo.
How many dead men and women have wandered here under one king or another? Yet all seem alive. But as we stand here, a ripple breaks on the horizon. Figures are coming towards us.
If we could move together, if we could remain untouched without support. But the figures become Susan and Bernard, Ginny and Neville, and they have only to speak, and 1,000 days rise in the darkness.
We were 6 at table. Now silence falls.
I do not care what people think.
all my children breathe as they sleep, sleep, sleep.
I will rock my ships to shore, or they will founder.
Pain is at rest.
Kings rose and fell. Queens crept to death. Our English past, 1 inch of light. And we 6 abreast, what do we suppose? Our lives too stream away. It is nearly bedtime, and the lights come out on the other side of the river. The bedrooms of small shopkeepers. What have been the takings today? Just enough for food and light and children's clothes, and perhaps 2 tickets at the pictures. Just enough. Then they put out the lights, then go to sleep, and for them sleep is warmth and silence as they dream. I have posted my letter. Life is good. Listen. Must, 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 must sleep, must get up, must. I shall sleep, but we must go, must catch our train, must walk back to the station. Here at the station, and oddly, I still clasp the return half of my ticket in the fingers of my right hand, even now, even sleeping.
Now the sun had sunk. Sea and sky were indistinguishable. The waves breaking spread white to the shore, to narrow caves, then rolling back, sighing over the shingle. Dark shadows blackened as the light faded, and all the colours of the room were swollen into obscurity, vast in the shaking darkness. Walls of darkness in the air. Darkness moved in waves. Darkness washed down the streets, engulfing everything. Darkness rolled, and darkness blew. Darkness covered all.
This, for the moment, is my life. After Monday, Tuesday comes. That is my life. You see a rather heavy, elderly man, grey at the temples, whom you call Bernard. I take my napkin. I pour myself a glass of wine. And behind me the door opens, and people pass. But in order to make you understand, I must tell you my story. And there are so many stories. So many. Stories of childhood, school, love, marriage, death. And none of them are true. How tired I am of stories. I long for some little language that lovers use. Broken words, inarticulate words like feet shuffling on a pavement. A design in time. There was the nursery, with windows opening onto the garden, and beyond that the sea. Then Mrs. Constable raised the sponge above my head, squeezed it, and small arrows of sensation broke down my spine. These things happen in a second, but last forever. Faces loom. There's Ginny. That's Neville. Then Louis in grey flannels with a snake belt. That's Rhoda, and Susan who cried, and I following her. Gardeners swept the lawns with great brooms, and a lady sat writing. Then bread and butter in the nursery, sitting at tea as the flies droned, day after day. And as we became separate bodies, the suffering began. Louis disgusted by human flesh, Rhoda by cruelty. Susan could not share. Neville wanted order, Ginny love, and so on. At school, in chapel, there were pillars, memorial brasses, and boys being told to equip themselves like men. Percival scratched his thigh, then flicked his hand to the back of his neck. His movements were always remarkable. We tried to imitate, but failed. He had a kind of beauty. But he was thrown, died racing. And walking down Shaftesbury Avenue, he seemed so vivid. At 40 he would have shocked the world, had he lived, and not fallen, with no lullaby to sing him to rest. School terms went on. We grew. We changed. On the outskirts of every agony sits regret. The gardeners with their great brooms. The lady sits writing. An eternal flux. And years later, seeing a middle-aged woman in a restaurant taking off her cloak, a drop forms, then falls. A shell forms on the soft sole. One can learn Spanish. One has an engagement book. Dinner at 8. Luncheon at 1:30. One has shirts, socks, ties, laid out on one's bed. Tuesday follows Monday, and then Wednesday. But there is always, deep below, a terror, even when we arrive punctually with polite formalities. There were gardeners sweeping, ladies writing. And one straightens the fork so precisely on the tablecloth, haunted by some notion or other of order, of faces, of Neville, Susan, Louis, Ginny, or Rhoda. Nevertheless, life is pleasant. Life is tolerable. Tuesday follows Monday. Then comes Wednesday. How fast the stream flows from January to December. We are swept on by the torrent of things grown so familiar that they cast no shadow. We float. We float. I rambled down Oxford Street, thinking of all the interminable breakfasts of married life. I shaved. I married. I bought a house, had sons and daughters, toast and butter, coffee and bacon, the Times, letters. I gained success in my profession, thanks to a small inheritance from a distant uncle. I became a certain kind of man, but different depending on the company or locale. There are many Bernards, many rooms. I stride into the world with vast numbers of men on trains, on the tube, all trying to reach the same end, earning our livings. Life is pleasant. Life is good. Tuesday follows Monday. Wednesday, Tuesday. As the train drew through the suburbs, seeing men in shorts scouring after a football on a patch of snow in January, then being irritable about a small matter, the meat, perhaps, I spoke unreasonably. But going up to bed, we settled our quarrel on the stairs, for our first child was about to be born, and would increase the joy of married life. Then Percival died. As I came down the stairs, my mind's eye saw him. How he fell, how he looked. Where they carried him, these men pulling ropes. And I remembered that I did not go with him to Hampton Court. Percival, whom I wanted to lose his hair, to grow old with me. I returned to my snug home, and was warned by the parlour-maid to creep upstairs in my stockings. The child was asleep.
I went to my room. There I sat. I sat all night waiting. I shaved. I washed. I did not wake my wife. I had breakfast. I went out to earn my living. After Monday, Tuesday comes. I caught my train, and so back to London in the evening in an atmosphere of common sense, of good nights and see you tomorrows, of friends parting at the station. Then the lights of London, not flaring with ecstasy, but still the lights of London. A pageant of existence. Beauty cherished, so that it seemed newly sprung even in age, and youth so apt for pleasure that pleasure, one thought, must actually exist. Then the train came in, lengthening down the platform. The train came to a stop. Jokes and secrets in a doorway, and never parting without an arrangement to meet again. Life is pleasant. Life is good. After Monday comes Tuesday, then Wednesday follows. Thus, in a drawing-room for a moment, those two figures standing with their backs to the window, with a shock one thinks, they are old. But it is not age. It is that the drop has formed and fallen. For this reason I sought solace. Some people go to priests, some to poetry. I to my friends. I sought Neville, my oldest friend. I found him alone, reading. A perfectly neat table, a curtain pulled methodically straight, a paper knife dividing a French volume. He has sat in this chair, in these clothes, forever. Here was freedom, here in the firelight. There we sat talking, and then sank into one of those silences which are broken only by an occasional word. Then the silence resumed, spreading round us in ripples of satisfaction, content. We hear the clock tick. Neville was on the alert. I could feel him listening to the sounds of the street, and as he touched a cushion I knew that out of all mankind he had chosen one person. I watched him disentangle one footstep from all the others, and glance with swiftness at the handle of the door. So concentrated a passion shut out all others. The room became still and strange with the desire for someone not there. I left him to cross London to Rhoda and Louis. I wondered as I mounted the stairs, what do they say alone? Is she awkward with the tea kettle? Will Louis put a saucer of milk out for the cat? And with a slow anguish knew that no one would answer my knock. I waited, but there was no answer, so I tramped down the stone staircase again, thinking of Susan in her fields in Lincolnshire, of Ginny entertaining some new young man with chairs arranged in the darkened room, and their conversation reaching a usual crisis. When they come to bury her, nothing will be out of order. Still the door opens and she asks who's coming in. Her anguish and her ecstasy and nature satisfied. Our friends have seldom visited. How little known, Ginny, Susan, Rhoda, Neville or Louis, and I, who am not one person, but many people. That night in early autumn in Hampton Court, when we came together, we saw for a moment the body of the human being whom we failed to be, but at the same time cannot forget. All that we might have been, we saw. All that had been missed, and we grudged each other as children. When the cake is cut, the one cake, the only cake, watch their slice diminishing. However, we had our bottle of wine, and halfway through dinner we became 6 people at a table in Hampton Court. In the thin twilight we walked down the avenue. Neville, Ginny, Rhoda, who killed herself,
Louis, Susan, me. I saw our life, our identity. The moment was all. The moment was enough. We burnt triumphant. Then we drew apart and were consumed in the darkness. So we parted. Was this then, this streaming away, a sort of death? Later, walking down Fleet Street, I recalled the moment as I entered the shop where they cut my hair. I leant my head back and was swathed in a sheet as the scissors moved to and fro, and felt myself powerless. We are cut. We are fallen. So we lie, I thought, in the damp meadows, and are become part of that unfeeling universe that sleeps when we are at our quickest, and burns red when we are asleep. We have renounced life, and now lie flat, withered, and how soon forgotten. So into the street, swinging my cane, with my hair newly cut and the nape of my neck newly tingling, looking at the wire trays in stationers' shop windows, at baskets of fruit grown abroad. Hark, hark, the dogs do bark. Come, come away, death, mixing nonsense with poetry, floating on the stream. And Tuesday follows Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday. Each spreading a ripple, the ring grows like a tree, leaves fall. I wait. I listen. But nothing comes. A conviction of complete desertion. Now, there is nothing. Never and always. This is more truly death than the death of friends, than the death of youth. I am the swathed figure in the hairdresser's, taking up only so much space, and I survey my life, my friends' lives, those fabulous presences, and men with brooms, and ladies writing. How does the light return to the world after the eclipse of the sun? But for a moment, before the eclipse, I sat somewhere high above the sea, the garden, the house, and the waves breaking, and the old nurse turned the pages of the picture book and said, "Look, this is the truth." So I was thinking this as I came along Shaftesbury Avenue tonight. So I hung up my coat, tapped you on the shoulder, and said, "Dine with me?" Now the meal is finished. I begin to forget. Bernard, Neville, Ginny, Susan, Rhoda, and Louis, and Percival, who is dead. Am I all of them, or none? I do not know. But let the door open, the glass door that is constantly turning on its hinges. Let a woman come, let a young man in evening dress enter, but what can they tell me? Nothing. But no more. What does the central shadow hold? Something and nothing. But in the glass I see an elderly man, rather heavy, grey at the temples, leaning on an elbow with a glass of brandy in his left hand. We have eaten the corpses of small birds, grease on the congealing knives. Always it begins again. Always there is the enemy. But we must call the waiter, must pay the bill, must find our coats, must. But wait one moment. While they add up the bill behind the screen, I begin to perceive that there must be an order to all this. A clock ticks. The woman sneezes. A waiter comes with the bill, and with some sort of pity, even envy, and much goodwill, I take your hand and bid you good night. Now alone. That almost known person has gone to catch some train, take some cab, to go to people and places I do not know. Empty coffee cups, chairs with no one to sit in them, empty tables. Silence. Let me sit here forever. But they want to shut the restaurant. Oh, let me stay. I will give you all my money to let me sit on, silent and alone. But the head waiter puts on his coat and muffler. They must put up the shutters, must fold the tablecloths, give one sweep of the mop under the tables, must find my coat, must push my arms into the sleeves. An elderly man, spent, into the street, with the dark sky as polished whalebone. There is the sense of the break of day. Another day. Friday the 25th of March. January or September. The incessant rise and fall. And in me, too, the wave rises. I stand in this stretch of pavement and see the enemy advance towards me. Oh, death, you are the enemy. Oh, life, so are you. After Monday comes Tuesday, then Wednesday.
These lives too the darkness covered, and then the darkness was complete, as the waves broke softly on the yielding shore.
In The Waves, the narrator was played by Janet Sussman, Bernard by John Cartwright, and Susan by Geraldine James. Rhoda was played by Anna Massey and Neville by Peter Guinness. Ginny was played by Jane Laportaire and Louis by Don Warrington. The Waves was written by Virginia Woolf and dramatised and directed by Terence Davis. The producer was Polly Thomas.